Namaskar, everybody, and welcome to the Navratri Satsang for this year. So, let us start with Prarthana. By the Guru's grace and the will of Sri Krishna, we have all assembled for this Navratri Satsang. May we have their guidance to be able to learn and adopt the teachings from the lives of our great acharyas to progress on the path of our sadhana. So, as we indicated in this Prarthana, during this Navratri, what I thought is that we will look in detail at the events and circumstances in the lives of some of our great acharyas in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya and some shishyas of those acharyas. The intention is that we should study the life of these people to see if we can get inspiration or how our bhava towards our life should be, or what should be the attitude with which we do our sadhana. So let us see if we can try in the next few days to learn something of value from the lives of these great personalities. Okay. So I will recite the Guru Parampara. You can, if you have your own Guru Parampara, you can chant that by muting me. Okay. So Lakshmi Natha Samarambham Nathayamuna Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Bhutam Sarascha Mahadahvaya Bhattanath श्रीभक्तिसारकुलशेखरयोगिवाहान् भक्ताङ्घ्रिरेणुपरकालयतीन्द्रमिश्रान् श्रीमत्पराङ्कुशमुनिं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम्. Salutations to Swami Ramanujacharya. Yo nityamachyutapadaambujayukmarukma व्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये. So, with prayers at the lotus feet of the Alvars, the Acharyas, and the Lord, let us begin our topic for today. So, today we will be discussing about this person, this great personality called Purattalvar. So, this shloka which we recited, which is offering salutation to Swami Ramanujacharya, this was in fact composed by this person, Purattalvar. So we'll come to that in due course of time. So before we start talking about Purattalvar, there is a shloka by which we can offer our prostrations to him. So according to that, we say, Shrivat Sachinna Mishrebhyo Nama Ukti Madhimahe Yaduktayastrayi Kante Yanti Mangala Sutradhamaha. So we offer our obeisances towards Srivatsanga Mishra, whose divine stotrams are like Mangala Sutram for Vedam. That is, they reveal that Sriman Narayana is the Supreme clearly. So, this Purattalvar was also called as Srivatsanga Mishra. Why he was called as Srivatsanga Mishra? Because he is considered as an avatara, as an Amshavatara of Srivatsam. Srivatsam is the mole which is present on the chest of Lord Vishnu. So he is considered to have taken avatara that Srivatsam, the mole on Lord Vishnu's chest, has taken an avatara as the form of Swami Purattalvar. So he was born in this place called Kuram, which is near Kanchipuram. And actually, this word Alvar is always used for anybody who is deeply immersed in the bhakti of the Lord. Now, this Purattalvar, why he is actually a Shishya of Swami Ramanuja, but he got this suffix as Alvar because he had so much devotion for Lord as well as for his Guru, Swami Ramanuja. So that is why he is one of the unique people to have got this Alvar word attached to his name. So he is from that place called Kuram, so he is called as Purattalvar. He had some many other names. He was called as Kureshan. He was called, if somebody says just Alvan, that also means Purattalvar. Then he was also called as the Pavitram of Swami Ramanuja. Now, he was married to a person, to a lady, who was called as Andal. His wife's name was Andal. We will see that shortly, how he got married to her, what was the unique circumstances in which that marriage happened. And later, he had two sons by the grace of Lord Ranganatha of Srirangam, and those two sons were named as Parashara Bhattar and Vedavyasa Bhattar. So this person, Kureshan, was living in Kuram and he was belonging to the Kshatriya clan. So he was kind of, ruling over that place. And he was also a very rich person. And he was in charge of, looking after the welfare of all the people in that place. So one day, now this Kureshan had this habit that he would dress up like how the kings in the olden times used to go, no? In incognito mode. Like they would dress up, disguise as somebody else, and they would walk around after dark and they would listen to what people are talking. And just it was their way of getting feedback, of trying to find out whether people in their kingdom are happy or not, and so on. What issues people are having, what we can do to solve their problems, like that. So when he was doing this one night, he passed by one house where he heard a lot of crying and wailing going on. Now, in that house, there was one family, one father and mother, and their daughter called Andal. So, what was happening there was he was very intrigued by their discussion and why they were crying like that. So, what had happened was the astrologer had predicted that this horoscope of this Andal was such that if whoever she gets married to, and the horoscope predicted that within a very short time, the person to whom she got married, after consummation of the marriage, that person would die. So the parents now they were worried that given this condition in her horoscope, who is going to marry our daughter? And so they were so sad. Now that daughter said, I will not get married at all. Why should we put somebody into trouble like that? Why should I marry somebody and then that person will die? Instead, I will not marry. Then the parents were saying, no, no, but then how can you live like that? You remember, these are all the times we are talking about, say, the 1100, 1200, around those times we are talking about. So it is very odd at that time. There is no question of the girl not getting married, isn't it? So they said, no, no, how is it possible? We will not tell about this to anybody. Then they will not come to know. Then whatever happens, let it happen. So when he heard this discussion, this Kureshan, see, he was actually a very detached kind of person. He had absolutely no attachment for worldly things much. But he went into that house and he told them, I will marry your daughter. And he said, I have heard all your discussion, but I'm going to marry your daughter. So they said, how is it? You are going to die if you get married to her and you start living a grihastha life with her, then you will die. He said, no, see, there are two reasons why people get married. Marriage is told, and we are supposed to enter grihastha ashrama with two intentions. One is so that we, continue our vamsha. For that, so that we can beget children, and that is one part. And the second and more important according to me is that we get married so that along with our life partner, along with our spouse, we can walk on the path of dharma. As grihasthas, we can lead a life which is prescribed by the shastras and go ahead. So he told the parents of Andal that I am not interested in sensual gratification. I don't want to have any pleasure that normally a husband and wife undergo in their relationship. So I am not going to have any kind of a conjugal relationship with your daughter, but we will live together. I will marry her and we will be supportive of each other in our mission, in our path to seek the Lord. And on that region, on that basis, he got married. Can you imagine such a radical kind of thought process? Getting married to somebody, wanting to protect that woman, and having so much of, detachment from worldly pleasures, that although you are married to somebody, you don't want to have any kind of enjoyment which is permitted to you by the shastras under the grihastha, being willing to forego that and having so much focus that the purpose of your life is to attain the Lord. So this was the greatness of this Gurudhar. So this was like even before he became a Shishya of Swami Ramanuja, he already had these qualities. In fact, many times it is told he had in every possible way. He was a very handsome person. He was very good looking. He had a lot of money. He had a very high status in society. And he was very intelligent. So somebody normally who has, it is very rare, first of all, to find someone who is a combination of all these four qualities, isn't it? And when somebody has these four, definitely because of all of them or even any one of them, that person is like very likely, it is almost 100% sure that they will also be having the other quality of arrogance or having an egoistic attitude. But this Kureshan had none of that. He had all these good qualities, but he never had any arrogance from those qualities. He was not proud that he had all these good qualities. And this was the level of Vairagya that he had. Now, what happened later is he got married to Andal, and after getting married to her, okay, he was living a life, a proper grihastha life. And as I said, he was a very compassionate person. He had lot of wealth, and he and his wife together used to involve in doing what is called as Tadyaradhana Seva. Every day they would do Annadana. They would serve all people who came by their house. They would offer food to people. So they were always involved with this Annadana. Now, what happened one day is every morning, once the doors of this Kureshan's house were opened. After that, they would close at night after the last person had come and been fed and gone away. Now, around this time, little before this incident that we are going to talk about, this Kureshan had already taken, initiation, or he had already become a Shishya of Ramanuja. Swami Ramanujacharya was also in Kanchipuram itself. So he had gone to him, he had become his Shishya, he learned some Shastras and all from him and all that. Along with that, he was doing all his other duties and he was taking care of this Annadana thing and everything also. So although he was a Shishya of Swami Ramanuja, he had not completely sacrificed everything. So he was continuing with his Grihastha life and doing all whatever seva he could. He was trying to study the Shastras as much as possible. Now one day what happened is this in the temple at Kanchipuram, this Puram is a little far away from Kanchipuram. But because of the stillness of the night, sound travels, isn't it? So what happened was Varadaraja Perumal and Perandevi Tayar, the divine couple, in their temple in Kanchipuram, one night, late at night, around midnight or so, they heard the clanging of some doorbell. So as soon as they heard that, they asked the Archaka, who was called as Tirukachinambi. They asked him, "What is this sound so late at night? What is this bells clanging?" So that Archakar, he told them that, "Oh, don't you know there is this person called Pureshan who is living in Puram, and he is a very great philanthropist. He is a very great dani. He is very rich, but he does lot of dana. And that sound, what you heard, these bells clanging, that is, there are bells in the framework of his door, of his front door of his house. He has a very big house, and in that door there are these bells which have been attached. And at the end of the day, when everybody has been fed and everyone is satisfied, then they only then late at night they close the doors of that house, and that sound what you heard is the clanging of that door being closed." So the minute they heard this, both the Devi and the Lord were very surprised, and they started talking amongst themselves. "Oh, he's feeding people every day. Oh, he must be such a great person. He must be such a wealthy person, and he is doing so much philanthropy. That is very good." They discussed between them, and they said to the Archakar that, "We want to meet Kureshan. Please, ask him to come and meet us." So next day, this Tirukachinambi went and told Kuresha that like this, the Lord and Devi were discussing about you, and they were praising all your activities and that you are so rich and all that, and your philanthropy and so good. At that moment, when he heard this Kureshan had a sudden opening of his spiritual eye. He said, "What is this? The Lord should have been talking about me. The Devi should have been talking about me, saying that I am a great renunciant. They should have been talking of me, saying that I have so much dedication to my Guru. And instead of that, they are talking about this philanthropy and something like that. Whatever money they have given me, that only I am distributing to everyone. How fallen am I that they are talking about me and they are praising me for this wealth and the other activities that I'm doing. And they are not talking of me saying that I am a great disciple of Swami Ramanuja. this is really very wrong on my part. And at that very moment, he decided that he wanted nothing more to do with these worldly affairs. He said, enough of the philanthropy that I have done, enough of whatever I have done. I want the Lord to recognize me for being somebody who is a follower of his guru and not someone who is engaged in worldly activities like this. And that very moment, he decided, he gave off all his belongings, all his possessions, everything. He told his wife, come, let us go from here. By then, Swami Ramanujacharya was in Sri Rangam. He told his wife, Andal, come with me. Let us go to Sri Rangam. We are not going to stay here and do anything of this anymore. We have given away everything. So let us go. You also don't take anything with you. Just as we are, with whatever clothes we are going, we will walk and we will go to Sri Rangam. So they started walking through that forest. It was very thick forest. In the middle of the night, they started walking. And when night came, then this Andal was very fearful. She told her husband, she said, why don't we stay here somewhere in one place and let us not go now. Let us walk in the morning when it is light and, now I'm feeling scared. Immediately this Quraysh, what he did, no, he stopped and he said, have you brought something with you? Is there something valuable? She was carrying one small bundle with her, maybe her clothes or one set of clothes or something like that. So he said, what is there in that bundle along with your clothes? Have you brought something valuable? Because it's only when we have something of great value with us that we feel scared of the darkness and that somebody will come and rob us and like that. What are you carrying? He asked. So she said, no, I didn't bring anything else, but there was one gold small plate in which you were having your food every day. So I didn't want to deprive you of that. So I just brought that gold plate along with me so that whenever we go on the way, if you are eating, I can serve you in that plate. And wherever we go, then you can start using that plate. He was so surprised. He said, what is this? I told you that we have given up everything to go to Swami Ramanuja. Now, what is the use of carrying this gold plate? Why should I be eating in that gold plate? And he said, give me that plate. He took it from her and he threw it into the forest somewhere in the bushes far away. And he said, come, now you will not have any more fear. Come, let us go and reach Swami Ramanuja. And that was the way in which he relinquished everything, all his possessions, everything that he had, all the status he had. He gave up everything and he went and became a disciple of Swami Ramanuja. Now, at one particular time, Swami Ramanujacharya wanted to write this a commentary, a bhashya on the Brahma Sutras. So what happened is, to write that, he needed some authoritative grantha. And that was a text called as the Bodhayana Vritti. Now that Bodhayana Vritti is written by the rishi called Bodhayana on the Brahma Sutras. So he wanted access to that. Now that was only available in the great library which was there in Kashmir. So you imagine, Swami Ramanujacharya is in Sri Rangam and all the way he has to go to Kashmir. So he took Puresha, he took Puratalwar along with him, and they both went there. Now, when they went there and they spoke to the people in the library, the scholars in Kashmir, the king and all agreed, and they said, "Okay, fine, you can take it." And they gave that Bodhayana Vritti to them. Now, as they were coming, one night they had to pass on the way, and at that point of time, after it became dark and late at night, Swami Ramanuja went to sleep. Then this Puresha was sitting there. Then the next day, what happened as they got up and continued their journey, there were a lot of soldiers who came and they surrounded these people. They said, you give back that Bodhayana Vritti. Actually, there were some jealous scholars who were there in Kashmir who didn't want them taking away that Bodhayana Vritti. So they came and they ordered them and they snatched it back from them and went away. Now, Swami Ramanuja was totally upset and he was very depressed. He said, oh, what is this? We came all the way, we got it also, but then they have taken it away from us. Now, how will I write the Bhashya? How will I do this work? At that time, Pureshan gave him hope. He said, Swami, you went to sleep at night, but I have looked through, I have read through the entire Vritti, and I am able to remember everything. So he was so intelligent. He had what is something like a photographic memory. So Swami Ramanuja was really very delighted to hear this. And once they came back to Sri Rangam, then they started this task. So whatever Puresha remembered from his memory, would recite that, and the Swami would give the explanation for that, and Puresha would write it down. Right. Now, at one point of time, what happened is Swami Ramanuja told, he knew that this Puresha, although he is his disciple, he is also very intelligent and he is also having God's blessings. So he told him that, see, if any point of time you find that there is something not proper in what I am telling, what Vyakhya I am giving, what explanation I'm giving, then you have every right to stop me and say, I don't agree with you. Puresha said, no, no, how can I do that? You are my guru, I am your shishya. How can I stop and, show disrespect like that to you by saying that you are wrong and not like this? So then they reached an agreement. They said that if Puresha feels that something is not proper, then in what Swami is telling, then he will just put his writing quill down and he will stop writing. So then Acharya should realize that there is something difference of opinion there. Like that was the bhava of this Kuresha. Now, actually, in one point, there was a difference that came where the question was Swami Ramanujacharya started saying that the Jivatma has two qualities. One is that it is Jnanamaya, it is full of knowledge, and the other that it is Sheshatva. We have already talked about this in previous satsang last time, I think. So the Jivatma is subservient, it is a servant of the Lord. And both these qualities are there. Out of these two, the knowledge is the prime quality. This is what Swami Ramanujacharya started saying. At that point, Kuresha put his quill down. He stopped writing. And he said, so it is understood now that he is not agreeing with it. So Swami asked him that, what is this? Why do you feel that it is wrong? He said, no, according to what I have understood of what the Alvars and all have sung, then being subservient to the Lord, that is the primary quality of a jiva. And then Swami Ramanuja sent Puresha to his Acharya, to Swami Ramanujacharya's Acharya, Tirukushtiyur Nambi, and said, you learn the meaning, you find out the correct answer to this question and come. Now, when Kuresha went there, that Swami did not give him any answer. He only engaged him in all services. After staying there for 6 months, then this Kuresha could not bear separation from his Acharya. So he told him that, okay, I'm going. And at that point of time, Tirukoshtiyur Nambi gave him the answer. He said, ask your Acharya to refer to the writings of the Alvars. And that particular Sampashuram, he told him, that particular Sukta, he told him. And when he went there, then Swami Ramanujacharya said, yes, that is correct, what has been told by the Acharyas. And that is the way in which this difference of opinion was settled. Now, this Kuresha was such a great scholar that he himself has 5 compositions to his credit. They are called as Sri Vaikuntastavam, Atimanushastavam, Varadarajastavam, Shri Stavam, and Sundarabahustavam. So, in that, especially in that Atimanushastavam, he praises all the divine leelas performed by Lord Rama. And he says, you came pretending as if you are just a Manusha, you are a Manushya, but all these activities that you have done, by looking at all this, we know very well that you are beyond human. You are beyond Manushya, Ati Manushas. So that is the stavam that he composed. Now, the most important role perhaps that was done by this Puratalvar is he gave up his darshana, his vision, his eyes for the darshanam. Darshanam is the doctrine or the philosophy of this particular Sri Vaishnava philosophy. What had happened was there was a king, there was a Shaiva king who was a very big fanatic, and he wanted everybody to accept that Shiva is the supreme lord. And he was advised by other people, and especially one person called Naluran. So this Naluran gave a lot of inputs to this king and told him that, see, this Ramanujacharya is the chief among all these Sri Vaishnavas. So if you, and he is always saying that Sriman Narayana is the supreme deity. So if you can get him to agree to your command, then all the Vaishnavas will come under our regime. They will accept our philosophy that Shiva is supreme. So when it is a matter of doctrine, how can somebody give up the doctrine that they have taken to be true from based on what the Alvars have told and what their Acharyas have told? So at that point of time, when they realized that the soldiers are going to come and take away Swami Ramanuja, this Kuratalvan offered that you are very important, O Acharya, you are very important for the further propagation of our Sampradaya. So we will do one thing, we will swap places. The soldiers don't know how you look. So what he did was, he was a grahastha. He gave his white robes to Swami Ramanujacharya, and he wore the saffron robes of Swami Ramanujacharya, who was a sannyasi. So now everybody who, once the soldiers would come there, they would see that this person in orange robes is Swami Ramanujacharya. Like that, he made sure that Swami Ramanujacharya went away. And that was the time when Ramanujacharya traveled and walked and walked and walked and came from Srirangam to Melkote in Karnataka. So this Kuresha, he went along with the soldiers as if he is Ramanuja. Now, when he went there, they again, that king and all insisted that you have to sign this statement. You have to agree and say that this is supreme. Shiva is supreme. So again, he said, no, I will not agree to that. And then they came to know in the meantime that he is not Ramanuja. Anyway, they told him, on behalf of your Acharya, you have to sign this petition. You have to sign this document saying that you accept that this is the most superior, Shaivism is the most superior philosophy. So he said, no, I will not, never agree to that. How can I agree to that? And at that point of time, this Chola king said that, okay, if this is what you are going to insist upon, then I will take away your eyes. I will pluck your eyes away. So Kuratalwar got so angry in response that he said, who are you to pluck my eyes? I will only pluck my eyes. And immediately he picked a writing quill from somewhere. He poked it into his eyes and he blinded himself. He said, who are you to blind me? I will blind myself. And that is why it is said, for the sake of protecting the sanctity of the philosophy, of that darshana, he gave up his own vision. His darshana he gave up for the sake of the Sri Vaishnava darshanam. This was the great sacrifice that he made. Now, Swami Ramanujacharya came to Melkote and he was there for many years. Then, in the meantime, there was some change in regime. This fellow, this king, evil king died, and some other king succeeded him and all that. And that person was no longer fanatic. So the conditions became better. Then there was no more any, danger to the philosophy. So then Swami Ramanujacharya came back from Melkote. At that time, when he came back and he asked, he was very upset to see how Kura Talwar had lost his eyes. And at that point of time, he said, what is this? Why you are such a great bhakta, you are such a devout person, and you have always never done anything. You're such a compassionate person yourself. You've never done anything wrong. Why is it that you had to go through this punishment? See, Acharya knows that whatever everybody gets in their life is as per their prarabdha. But he's so caught with affection for his devotee that he starts bemoaning this fact, that he had to lose his vision. At that time, what this Kuratalwar told him, he said, Acharya, please don't feel bad for me. I am pretty sure I know why I had to lose my eyes. I think someday when some Sri Vaishnava was passing by, I must have looked at his Urdhva Pundra, the Nama that they wear, right? I must have looked at him and thought that that is crooked. He has not worn properly. And as punishment for that, my vision was taken away. Such was the humility. What kind of a person is able to not blame somebody else for their problems, but say that I must have done something wrong, and that is why I had to suffer this. The Not just that he said it by words, but with a deep understanding and acceptance. That quality of always saying that I am the one who is at fault. In any situation, saying that I must be responsible for this and not putting the blame on the external world. To the outside world, it may appear like you have done no wrong. But as it is told to us in the Shastras, somewhere at some point of time, you have done something wrong. And that is why you have to undergo certain things. Maybe not in this Janma. We may be very good people in this Janma. But do we know what all we have done in our past Janmas? So we can't say that ability to accept that yes, I am at fault and that is why I am undergoing all these negative consequences. That is the bhava of a true Sri Vaishnava. So that was another incident. Now he had lot of nishtha for his acharya. Like there are many incidents, right? There was one time when Swami Ramanuja wanted to set right the administrative affairs in the Sri Rangam temple. So they wanted the access, like they wanted to have permission. There was one person called Tiruvarangat Tamudanar who was in charge. So this in charge person was not willing to part with the keys of the temple and he didn't want to give away his authority. But Swami Ramanujacharya wanted to set right everything. So what he did was that person's mother passed away. And on the 11th day, there is a ceremony which is conducted, which is called as the Ekaham. And a person who goes to, have food and participate in that ceremony, it is not a very good task to be done. Like people generally avoid that. But Swami Ramanuja sent this Kurat Talvar. Now, when he went there, at that time, after eating, after that person has served you and everything, then that person who served is supposed to ask that, are you satisfied? And this person who sat in that ekam and he partook of the food, he has to say, yes, I am satisfied. And then he will be given some gifts and he will go away. If he says he is not satisfied, then that person will ask him, what do you want then to satisfy you? Right? So when this Kuresha went there, he finished the ceremony and everything. And when he was asked, are you satisfied? He said, no, I am not satisfied. So then that person asked him, what do you want then? How can I satisfy you? Because it's considered very important. If you satisfy this person, then there is satisfaction of your ancestors who have passed away for whom you're doing the ceremony. So when he said that, Kureshan asked him, he said, I will be satisfied if you give me the keys of the Sri Rangam temple so that my Acharya can set right the administrative affairs. And that is how he brought those keys and surrendered them to Swami Ramanuja. Now, after he had lost his eyes, and once before Swami Ramanuja returned, right, when still that bad king was living there, at that point of time, he had once gone towards the temple. And there the guards were standing. Two guards were standing. One guard said, uh, you can't go inside. You are not allowed to go inside because you are a follower of Ramanuja. So that other guard said, no, no, see, he is follower of Ramanuja, but he's a very great person. He's a really great personality. We should allow him inside. At that point, this Kuresha told them, I don't want any such favor from you people. If you are going to recognize me for my own identity and allow me into the temple, I don't want to see Ranganathar himself. I don't want to see God. If you are going to let me in on basis of my personality, I want to be recognized always as a Shishya of Swami Ramanujacharya. If on that basis you are going to let me in, I will go. If you are saying that because I am Ramanuja Shishya, I should not go inside and I don't want to see God, I will not go inside. So great was the Acharya Nishtha. And when he finally he was living without eyesight and all that, and Swami Ramanuja came there, then Swami Ramanuja insisted that Puresha should go to Lord and stand in front of him and pray and sing and ask for eyesight. So this Kura Talwar was totally against it. He didn't want that. He said, what is this? I have so much great things in my life. Why do I want eyesight? But because the Guru insisted, he asked. But then he put a condition. 1 minute Ramanujacharya had turned away. At that point of time, he asked that, okay, because my Guru is saying, I'm okay, you give me eyesight, but only give me eyesight so that I can see you, O Lord, and I can see my Acharya. I don't want to be able to see anything else in this world. And then when Lord was pleased and granted him that boon, the next thing he asked was, he said, please grant me moksha. Lord was very unhappy, but he said, he agreed. He said, okay, if you insist, I will grant you moksha. Now, when Swami Ramanuja came to know about this, he was very sad. He said, what is this? How can you have asked something like that? I told you only to ask for eyesight. Why did you have to ask for moksha? So, and I am your Acharya, so I should be there before you in Sri Vaikunta. How can you go earlier before me? To that, Kuratalvar replied, he said, it is the norm that always, even in this earth, it is the Shishya who has to do service to the Guru. So once I reach Sri Vaikunta, I want to reach there before you so that I can have everything ready. When you come, I want to offer you service and serve you there also in Sri Vaikunta. I cannot bear that you will be there before me and you will receive me. I will be there before you and I want to receive you. So that was the great Acharya Nishtha that he had. And it was during this incident, Swami Ramanuja was so upset that Puresha is going to go away. He's going to part from him. And he's going to go to Sri Vaikunta because Lord has granted him moksha. At that point of time, he thought, Swami Ramanuja thought that I will go and ask the Lord to repeal this boon and to take away this boon, that I don't want to let Puresha go. I want him to live with me. So he told Kuresha this, I will go and talk to the Lord and I will change this boon that he has given you. And he started walking. After walking a few steps, he realized that I am also, after all, another person on this bhumi. what the Lord has decided. Who am I to go and say that you change your mind? How can I do that? Then nobody will ever have any value for the Lord's words. So he thought that to himself and he came back and he hugged Kuratalvar like one would hug a small child, and he made him sit in his lap. And along with that, he also told him that it's okay. I accept. You are going to go to moksha. Fine. I will accept it as your wish and the wish of the Lord. And you go with all good things, with my blessings, you go, he told him. And very sadly, he was full of sadness in his heart, but he accepted what the Lord and Kuratalvar wanted, and he started walking away. And in that moment, it was that Kuratalvar composed that shloka that we always say at the beginning of our Gita satsangs also. Yo nityamachyuta padambuja yukma rukma vyamohatastaditarani trinaya mene asmad guror bhagavatosya dayaika sindhoho Ramanujasya charanau sharanam prapadye. He said, O Ramanuja, you are Daya Sindhu. That quality, that how much of compassion you have, how much love you have for me. In that outburst of that emotion, it was that Kuratalvar composed that shloka in praise of Swami Ramanuja. Now, if we want, there are lots of things we can go on talking about Kuratalvar. There are so many more incidents, and I have not taken all of them. I have just picked up the most significant ones, right? But if we want to adopt some of his qualities in our life, then what is that? Total humility, total lack of pride, right? There was a time when he saw, there was one disciple, one person who came to Ramanuja, and that person was mute. He couldn't talk, he was dumb, and he was deaf also. And he kept falling at the feet of Ramanuja. So Ramanujacharya understood that, okay, this person wants blessings from me, he wants moksha. But what to do? Normally, what the Acharya will do, they will teach a mantra which the Shishya can repeat, and by that they can go to moksha. But what to do for this Shishya? So he sent everybody out and he kept that only that Shishya and he stayed in that room. And this Kurat Talwar also went out, but he was intrigued that what is going to happen now. So he looked in, he peeped in through one small window, he created a tiny crack there and he was looking what is happening. He saw Swami Ramanuja putting his feet directly on that man's head to bless him. And at that time, Kuresha fainted. He fainted, and then when they woke him up, he said, Oh, what a papi I am. I couldn't have been like that mute and deaf fellow. Then Guru would have immediately given me moksha. What is the use of all my intelligence, all my knowledge, and all this thing that I have? Why is it important for me to have all this? See that fellow, without anything, he is getting moksha. That great humility he had. And then that Naluran who actually instigated the king, when Kuratalwar prayed to the Lord for eyesight. At that same time, he also asked the Lord that please forgive that Naluran. Please forgive that fellow. Who will have this quality? Somebody is responsible for you to lose your vision, for you to lose your eyesight, and for creating so much damage to the Sampradaya. And yet, even towards that person, he had so much compassion that he begged the Lord, please forgive that fellow. Don't count his papa like that. So that is the greatness of Swami Kuratalvan. So if we want to adopt all his qualities, right, we must try and inculcate that same level of humility, compassion, right, patience, and all these qualities. So we will stop here because we have run out of time. And in tomorrow's satsang, we will take up some other devotee, some other shishya, or tomorrow rather, we will be talking about one of the great acharyas who is Swami Deshikan. So let us stop here. Let us offer gratitude for the great Acharya Parampara through which we are able to learn about all this, and gratitude to the commentators who have explained these meanings, and at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna and Guru. Let us pray for their blessings and grace always to be on us. Thank you everybody for attending. Namaskar.